November 14, 1943, somewhere in the dark expanse of the Pacific Ocean, the USS Tang, a sleek, 307-foot-long Gateau-class submarine of the United States Navy, slid silently beneath the waves, its hull cutting through the water with deadly precision. Captain Richard O'Kane, a young but fiercely determined commander, adjusted his periscope, scanning the horizon for any sign of Japanese ships. The night was calm, the moon casting silver streaks across the rippling sea, but beneath the surface, tension hung like a dense fog. The Tang's crew, a mixture of seasoned submariners and fresh-faced sailors barely out of training, moved with quiet efficiency, each aware that one mistake could mean the difference between survival and certain death. Intelligence had indicated a Japanese convoy of 4 cargo ships and 2 destroyers was en route from Truk to Rabaul, carrying supplies critical to Japan's war effort. Previous Allied submarines had attempted to intercept similar convoys, many failing to return. The Japanese, confident in their escort tactics and radar-equipped destroyers, believed the Pacific waters were largely under their control. To them, a lone American submarine was just another shadow to be avoided, another nuisance in the vast ocean. But O'Kane and his men had trained for this moment. The Tang's torpedo room hummed with anticipation as the crew readied the Mark 14 torpedoes, weapons that had once been infamous for malfunctioning, but had recently been calibrated and perfected for deadly accuracy. Every sailor understood the stakes. Each torpedo fired was not just metal and explosives, it was a chance to disrupt enemy supply lines, a chance to tilt the balance of war in the Pacific, a chance to prove that American ingenuity and determination could triumph over underestimation and arrogance. As the submarine approached the convoy, the sound of distant propellers grew louder, the silhouettes of enemy vessels emerging faintly in the moonlight. The destroyers patrolled aggressively, scanning the waves with searchlights and sonar, confident that no American submarine could breach their perimeter. Yet O'Kane's strategy was unlike any the Japanese had encountered. Instead of a straight-on attack, he maneuvered the Tang beneath the convoy, exploiting the shadows and the currents, approaching from an angle that made detection nearly impossible. Each second stretched into an eternity. The crew held their breath, listening for the telltale ping of enemy sonar, aware the detection could lead to depth charges, fire, and death. With calculated precision, O'Kane gave the order, and the torpedoes slipped silently from their tubes, cutting through the water with invisible speed. Moments later, explosions ripped through the convoy. The first cargo ship shuddered violently, engulfed in flames. The second and third followed, caught in a perfect chain of destruction that left the remaining escorts scrambling in panic. The destroyers, once confident and mocking, were now disoriented, their formation broken, trying desperately to locate the invisible predator beneath the waves. Below deck, the Tang's crew allowed themselves a brief exhale, but there was no time for celebration. They knew the Japanese would regroup, counterattack, and attempt to sink them with depth charges that could crush the submarine like a tin can. O'Kane adjusted his position, anticipating the enemy's moves, guiding his vessel with skill honed from countless drills and prior patrols. The night became a deadly chess match beneath the Pacific surface, each move deliberate, each countermeasure crucial. Hours passed, but the Tang remained undetected, its silent engines carrying it out of immediate danger while ensuring the enemy suffered maximum losses. By dawn, the extent of the destruction became clear. 3 Japanese cargo ships sunk, hundreds of tons of supplies lost, and the psychological blow to the enemy immeasurable. For the men aboard the Tang, it was a validation of their training, their discipline, and their courage. The Japanese had laughed at the idea that a single American submarine could take on a convoy armed with destroyers. But the Tang had proven that confidence without understanding American tactics and determination was a dangerous gamble. O'Kane's reputation began to grow, as did the morale of the crew, who knew they had participated in an operation that would be remembered in naval history. Beyond the immediate tactical victory, the success of the Tang sent ripples through the Pacific theater. Enemy supply lines were disrupted, the Japanese were forced to allocate more ships to escort duties, and Allied intelligence began using the Tang's patrols as examples of how audacious tactics could yield outsized results. This patrol,
one among many, became emblematic of American naval ingenuity and the deadly effectiveness of the submarine force, which relied not on brute force, but on precision, strategy, and the unbreakable resolve of its crews. The men returned to their routine, cleaning decks, checking systems, and preparing for the next engagement, knowing that every patrol could be their last. The Tang, sleek and silent, had become more than a machine. It was a symbol of American ingenuity, audacity, and courage, haunting the Pacific and reshaping naval warfare in a way that the enemy could neither predict nor contain. The story of this night, of the Tang's daring approach, the perfectly timed torpedo salvo, and the calm yet deadly efficiency of her crew would become a testament to the extraordinary feats achievable when ordinary men, under extraordinary circumstances, refused to yield to fear or doubt. In the months to come, the USS Tang would continue to terrorize enemy shipping, demonstrating again and again that American submarines, under the command of skilled leaders like O'Kane, could strike anywhere, at any time, and with devastating effect, changing the dynamics of naval engagements across the Pacific and contributing decisively to the eventual Allied victory.
November 20th, 1943. 6 days had passed since the USS Tang had unleashed its deadly torpedo salvo on the Japanese convoy, and the Pacific seemed to hold its breath. Captain Richard O'Kane studied the sonar screens and charts with a quiet intensity, aware that every decision now carried the weight of life and death for his crew. The Tang had become a ghost in the waters, a predator that the Japanese feared but could not locate. Intelligence reports indicated another high-value convoy was making its way from Truk to Rabaul, this one even larger, guarded by 4 destroyers and a contingent of smaller escort vessels. These ships carried not just supplies, but critical war materials and troops, and their loss could cripple Japanese operations in the region. The Japanese commanders, recalling the recent disaster inflicted by the Tang, were unusually cautious. They had reinforced their escort formations, deployed additional radar-equipped ships, and instructed captains to maintain strict zigzag patterns, all in an attempt to avoid the lethal efficiency of American submarines. Yet, confidence in numbers can be deceptive, and the Tang had learned to exploit every weakness. Beneath the waves, the crew prepared with precision. Torpedoes were checked and rechecked, engines fine-tuned, and navigation plotted with painstaking care. Every sailor understood that anticipation, patience, and precision were as vital as courage. O'Kane reviewed the past patrols, analyzing enemy patterns, noting how destroyers responded to periscope sightings, how sonar pings signaled the approach of danger. This mission required more than audacity. It required intellect, discipline, and seamless teamwork. At 0300 hours, the Tang submerged to periscope depth, the cold water closing over its hull. Moonlight barely penetrated the Pacific night, yet it was enough for O'Kane to identify silhouettes on the horizon. The Japanese convoy was moving steadily, unaware of the shadow below. O'Kane's strategy was to approach from the most unlikely angle, directly under the lead destroyer. His calculations accounted for water currents, torpedo speed, and evasive maneuvers, each variable carefully measured and remeasured. The crew adjusted ballast tanks, monitored oxygen levels, and double-checked the firing solution. In the control room, a palpable tension filled the air. Every man knew that detection could result in a deadly counterattack. The Tang had survived before, but luck alone would not protect them. Skill, calculation, and nerves of steel would. As the convoy drew closer, sonar operators detected propeller noises that indicated enemy maneuvers. The destroyers were not passive, their searchlights scanning, depth charges ready. But O'Kane had studied their behavior extensively. He calculated the timing perfectly, knowing when the ships would pass over his position. The moment came, silent and precise. The torpedo tubes opened, and 6 Mark 14 torpedoes were released in carefully calculated spreads. Beneath the waves, they cut silently through the water, invisible and unstoppable. Explosions rocked the lead cargo ship, then another, then a third. Flames leapt skyward, silhouetting the remaining escorts in a chaotic display. The destroyer scrambled, attempting to locate the source of the attack, but the Tang had already begun a subtle maneuver, moving silently into the shadows, preparing for the inevitable counterstrike. Depth charges erupted around the submarine, massive underwater explosions sending shudders through the hull. Sailors gritted their teeth, holding positions, absorbing the force, trusting in the submarine's construction and their own training. The enemy's panic became evident. Formations broke, escorts collided, and confusion spread throughout the convoy. Using the currents and underwater terrain, O'Kane guided the Tang into a position to strike again, this time targeting the rearguard ships. A second salvo was fired, catching the Japanese completely off guard. The explosions were deafening beneath the surface, and smoke rose to mingle with the moonlit sky, a testament to the destruction below. Hours passed, the Tang remaining submerged, evading counterattacks while monitoring the convoy's remnants. By dawn, the full extent of the damage was visible from periscope depth. Multiple cargo ships destroyed, escorts scattered, and the psychological impact on the Japanese command evident in the chaos and miscommunication intercepted by Allied intelligence. The crew allowed themselves a brief moment of relief, but remained vigilant. The Tang was far from safe, and the Pacific remained a domain of constant danger. The patrol had proven again that American ingenuity, leadership, and tactical mastery could overcome enemy precautions, that a well-trained crew with a calculated strategy could inflict outsized damage even against heavily guarded targets. O'Kane's methods, combining precise calculations, stealth, and audacity, became case studies for future submarine operations. The success of this mission further cemented the Tang's reputation as a ghostly predator in the Pacific, striking fear into enemy commanders and demonstrating that American naval forces were capable of extraordinary feats when intellect and courage were combined. As the submarine moved silently towards safe waters, the crew reflected on the events of the night. Each sailor understood that their actions had far-reaching consequences, not only for the immediate mission, but for the broader war effort. Japanese supply lines had been severely disrupted, the enemy's resources strained, and morale shaken. The Tang had become a symbol of American resilience, determination, and tactical brilliance, reminding both friend and foe that innovation and bravery could turn the tides of battle. In the weeks to come, the Tang would continue to stalk the Pacific, a relentless predator whose very presence forced the Japanese to rethink their strategies. The lessons learned during this patrol would influence countless missions, shaping the approaches of other submarines and commanders, all inspired by the success of a crew that refused to yield to fear or underestimation. The story of the Tang, of Captain O'Kane and his men, became a testament to the power of preparation, skill, and courage, illustrating that even against a numerically superior enemy, the combination of strategy, precision, and nerve could achieve the seemingly impossible.
November 25, 1943. The Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly, a vast canvas of deep blue and shadow, concealing threats beneath its surface that could claim lives in an instant. Captain Richard O'Kane sat in the control room of the USS Tang, reviewing patrol charts and intelligence reports, understanding that every move could shift the balance of power in the Pacific. Each convoy, each transport, carried not only supplies, but the lifeblood of Japanese military operations: fuel, ammunition, vehicles, and troops essential to holding islands under their control. The Tang's reputation as a ghost in the waters preceded it. Japanese naval commanders spoke in hushed tones of its audacity, its unmatched ability to strike and vanish without warning. Yet O'Kane knew that reputation alone could not guarantee success. The skill, precision, and cohesion of his crew were the real weapons, forged over months of patrols, drills, and perilous encounters. Sonar operators scanned for the distant hum of propellers, analyzing patterns, anticipating maneuvers, each ping a potential signal of danger or opportunity. The Tang's approach to the next convoy had to be meticulously calculated. This convoy was larger than any previously encountered, guarded by 6 destroyers and multiple smaller escorts, moving from truck to rabal with heavy cargo essential for Japanese air and ground operations. Intelligence suggested that Japanese commanders were aware of American submarine tactics and had implemented evasive strategies, including irregular zigzags, constant radio communication, and frequent sonar sweeps. Despite this, O'Kane believed that human error, overconfidence, and predictable responses could still be exploited. At 0200 hours, the Tang submerged, gliding silently beneath the moonlit waves. Crew members moved with practiced efficiency, monitoring oxygen levels, battery power, and the subtle creaks of the hull under pressure. O'Kane reviewed the firing solution one last time, calculating torpedo spreads, angles, and timing to exploit the convoy's formation weaknesses. The destroyers patrolled diligently, yet each movement they made, each sonar ping, provided information that O'Kane could use. He instructed his crew to maintain silence, to move as shadows, anticipating when the enemy would present vulnerabilities. As the lead ships approached, the Tang advanced beneath them, carefully adjusting depth and angle to minimize the risk of detection. The torpedo room team prepared the payload, checking gyro angles, ensuring detonators were secure, and reviewing target coordinates. The tension in the submarine was electric, a silent understanding that success required flawless execution. At the precise moment, 6 torpedoes were launched in a staggered pattern. Explosions tore through the first cargo ship, sending debris and flames into the night sky. The escort scrambled, attempting to locate the submarine, but the Tang was already moving into a calculated evasion, using underwater currents and terrain to mask its position. Depth charges erupted, shaking the submarine, but the crew remained focused, trusting in training, in design, and in each other. The enemy's panic became increasingly apparent. Destroyers collided in confusion. Convoy formation broke apart, and radio chatter revealed miscommunication. O'Kane used these moments to reposition the Tang, preparing for a secondary attack on the remaining ships. A second salvo was fired, striking a troop transport and a supply ship. Flames and smoke erupted, casting a macabre glow over the scattered escorts. Hours passed with the Tang submerged, evading counterattacks while monitoring damage. By dawn, the scale of destruction was visible from periscope depth. Multiple cargo ships destroyed, remaining escorts scattered, morale among the Japanese shaken. The mission demonstrated the lethal combination of preparation, precision, and audacity. Each crew member had played a role, executing tasks honed through countless drills. The Tang had achieved overwhelming effect with limited resources, proving that intelligence and coordination could overcome numerical superiority. The psychological impact on Japanese command was significant. Convoy operations were delayed, routes altered, and additional resources diverted to anti-submarine efforts. Allied intelligence intercepted reports of confusion and low morale among convoy commanders, a testament to the Tang's disruptive power. O'Kane debriefed the crew, acknowledging their professionalism and courage while stressing the ongoing dangers of Pacific patrols. Each engagement had lessons. Every success was tempered by the ever-present threat of depth charges, aerial reconnaissance, and the unforgiving sea. The Tang's operations influenced future U.S. submarine tactics, showcasing how careful observation, strategic thinking, and calculated risk could multiply effects against superior enemy forces. The crew's confidence grew, but so did their respect for the inherent danger of their mission. Months later, the Tang's patrol reports would be analyzed in classrooms and war colleges, demonstrating the effective integration of technology, strategy, and human skill. Captain O'Kane's leadership, combining patience, intellect, and decisive action, became a model for submarine commanders, illustrating that audacity without preparation was futile. But preparation, coupled with boldness, could achieve the extraordinary. The Tang remained submerged,
a silent predator, its presence reshaping Japanese strategy in the Pacific. Every destroyed convoy, every successful ambush carried significance beyond the immediate tactical gain. Supplies lost slowed Japanese operations, eroded morale, and reinforced the power of American ingenuity and resolve. As the submarine glided towards safer waters, the crew understood that their actions were part of a larger effort, a chess game in which patience, cunning, and skill determined outcomes more than raw numbers or firepower alone. The story of the Tang and of the men who operated it became a living testament to the capabilities of trained, coordinated, and courageous sailors. The success of each mission proved that intelligence, preparation, and daring could overcome the most formidable defenses. Japanese commanders came to respect and fear the unpredictability and precision of American submarines. O'Kane's methods and philosophy, analyzing enemy behavior, exploiting patterns, and combining precision with audacity, would influence generations of naval officers. The Tang's patrols highlighted a critical lesson of the Pacific War. Technological advantage, strategic thinking, and human determination could achieve results that seemed impossible. Each torpedo fired, each evasive maneuver executed, was a demonstration of skill and discipline, showing that a small, well-trained force could disrupt an entire theater of operations. The psychological and strategic impact of these actions reinforced the role of U.S. submarines in achieving victory in the Pacific.
November 12, 1944, the USS Tang prepared to leave Pearl Harbor for its final patrol in the Pacific. Months of relentless engagements had honed its crew to near perfection. Captain Richard O'Kane and his men knew the stakes. Each patrol could mean life or death, each decision a matter of strategy, skill, and instinct. The war in the Pacific had reached a critical juncture. Japanese shipping had been decimated, yet every remaining convoy carried vital resources for Japan's beleaguered forces. Success on the Tang's missions could accelerate the Allied advance and hasten the end of the war. The crew moved with practiced precision, performing last-minute checks on sonar, engines, and torpedoes. The air inside the submarine was tense but focused. The men were accustomed to fear, yet their discipline transformed that fear into sharp attention. O'Kane reviewed intelligence reports, noting convoy schedules, escort patterns, and the likelihood of enemy air patrols. Experience had taught him that assumptions could be fatal. Every detail mattered. As the Tang submerged off the Philippine Sea, the ocean became a theater of silent tension. Sonar operators listened intently, interpreting every ripple and hum for signs of the enemy. O'Kane's strategy emphasized patience and precision over rash action. The Tang's reputation as a ghostly predator preceded it, yet Japanese commanders were becoming increasingly cautious, implementing complex zigzag courses, decoys, and constant radio communications. Days passed in tense observation. Then, on the night of November 15th, a large convoy appeared on sonar. It included troop transports, supply ships, and 6 escorting destroyers. The Tang moved into position, calculating angles, distances, and torpedo spreads. Every crew member knew their role, every procedure drilled into muscle memory. At the exact moment, O'Kane ordered the launch of 6 torpedoes, striking 2 cargo vessels and a troop ship. Explosions shattered the night, water and fire erupting into the sky. The escorts counterattacked with depth charges, shaking the Tang violently, but the crew remained focused, executing evasive maneuvers perfected over months of patrols. The following hours became a deadly game of cat and mouse. The Tang fired additional torpedoes, crippling 2 more transports while expertly evading destroyer depth charges. The crew's skill turned the ocean into an arena where discipline, coordination, and nerve determined survival. By dawn, the convoy was scattered, significant losses inflicted, and Japanese morale shaken.
The success demonstrated the lethal combination of training, intelligence, and daring, proving that even in overwhelming circumstances, precision and coordination could produce extraordinary results. The psychological impact on Japanese command was severe. Convoys were delayed, routes changed, and additional escorts deployed. Reports intercepted by Allied intelligence revealed confusion and fear among Japanese commanders. The Tang had become more than a submarine. It was a symbol of American ingenuity and resolve, a demonstration that careful planning and audacity could overcome numerical superiority. As the Tang returned to port, the crew reflected on their experiences. Each mission reinforced the value of preparation, discipline, and teamwork. The impact of their actions extended beyond immediate tactical gains, shaping future U.S. submarine tactics and influencing naval doctrine for generations. The Tang's patrols had shown that a small, well-trained force, operating with intelligence and coordination, could achieve results that seemed impossible, striking fear into the heart of a formidable enemy. Captain O'Kane briefed his men, acknowledging their bravery and skill while stressing ongoing vigilance. Every torpedo fired, every evasive maneuver executed, was a testament to human determination and the power of disciplined teamwork. The Tang's legacy became a story of courage, strategy, and innovation, a model for future generations of naval officers and a key chapter in the Allied victory in the Pacific.